I guess as folks are coming in, we should probably wish everyone a happy National 529 Day. Very intentional reason for hosting this webinar today, obviously getting to celebrate the topic that we are discussing here. And as folks trickle in, we'll go ahead and get started. Very pleased to bring this webinar to the audience of the National Down Syndrome Society. I'll introduce myself first and foremost. I'm Ryan Rotundo, the Director of Programs for the National Down Syndrome Society. I do also like to share that I am a proud sibling of an amazing young woman with Down syndrome who benefits from having an ABLE account. So a topic that as a family we are familiar with and definitely see the value in and very much appreciate Eric, our speaker, who we'll introduce in a moment, taking of his time and being able to share some more information with you all today. Just a couple of housekeeping items. If you would please use the question and answer feature. You'll notice that at the bottom menu bar of your screen. It's the Q&A with the box and the question mark. We have disabled the chat simply because the Q&A feature is a very efficient way for us to be able to monitor questions that folks have. So please feel free to put your questions in there, and we will be monitoring that chat. And we will save the Q&A for the end of our session so that we'll be able to answer those questions and also be able to sort of pull out themes that may be coming out from some of the responses and pieces that you all are bringing to us. So again, welcome. If you would please use that Q&A feature, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so again, I'm Ryan Rotundo, Director of Programs for the National Down Syndrome Society. I have the pleasure of getting to introduce our keynote speaker for today. But first, wanted to give a little context for the organization and exactly how this ties into the conversation around ABLE. So the National Down Syndrome Society empowers individuals with Down syndrome and their families by driving policy change, providing resources, engaging with local communities, and shifting public perceptions. Our organization was founded in the late 1970s. We have been headquartered in New York City for many, many years. And now this year, celebrating our 45th anniversary in our new space in the nation's capital of Washington, D.C. I think it's a very strong statement for the level of advocacy and policy work that we engage in and how we want to really be close to some of the decision makers of our country and being able to push more of this important information and hopefully pieces of legislation that impact the disability community. A couple of ways that we really like to focus our mission around serving the greater Down syndrome community are through establishing and promoting resources and support to our community, as well as different opportunities for community engagement. And of course, as I mentioned, the advocacy and policy arm of the work that we do, which we'll get into a few more of these in more detail. With resources and support, we want to make sure that folks understand that we do have a 1-800 helpline and an info box email. We'll be able to share some more information and links to those in the chat. But these are great ways to reach out or even to share this information with folks that are in your network or that you're connected with who may have questions. It could be general questions about Down syndrome. It could be questions about some of the information you hear on today's webinar, or even just looking for a print copy or digital copy of some of the other resources and information that we share on our website. We also want to make sure that folks understand that we really have some focus areas around the topics of education, employment, health and wellness, aging, and caregiving. Among other things, we do focus on these areas when it comes to developing the resources that we have at our disposal, as well as providing technical support and even information to other parts of the community. I share that because we have some great resources around education this time of year, coming up on the end of a school year. Families may be looking for IEP support or information about transition. Those are some things that you can find on our education program website, along with information around employment and how to navigate applying for jobs or even connecting with employers in your community. We want to continue to champion inclusive hiring practices, and we do that through a number of ways through our employment program. Additionally, we are very well connected to some of the nation's experts, both on the clinical and research side as it pertains to health and wellness and aging and caregiving. Please check out some of our other webinars on Alzheimer's research, Down syndrome regression disorder, and some of these other very important topics that relate to our community, the individuals that we serve and their families. In the vein of community engagement, we do have a number of incredible events throughout the year. We also provide scholarships, grants, and awards to individuals with Down syndrome for different reasons, for being able to access post-secondary educational opportunities and participate in a college program, or even to be able to launch or grow their own small businesses. We also are the proud we proudly put on the National Buddy Walk program, which kickstarts in Times Square with a video on the Jumbotron of about 500 or so individuals with Down syndrome. And then we migrate up to Central Park for the National Buddy Walk, which is an incredible event, and would encourage you all to take a look at some of the pictures from last year and maybe consider participating in that as we kick off buddy season around the country, which typically takes place in the month of October, which, as you may know, is also Down Syndrome Awareness Month and National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So a lot to celebrate throughout the year, of course, but certainly later in the year as well. These are a couple of our other events that are coming up. So if you'd like to save the dates, mark your calendars. These are some things that we have just recently done or are, again, coming up. One of the key pieces that we want to highly encourage families to consider, as we now have our request for proposals or opportunities to speak at our Adult Summit, which will be taking place in November of this year in Orange County, California. So please take a look at our website. And if you're interested in presenting, if you are connected to subject matter experts in the areas of education or employment, again, health, wellness, aging, advocacy, policy, financial wellness, all of those things are topics that we want to be able to continue to share with our community at this conference. So please feel free to check out that website, register to attend, and perhaps even submit an application to present. So one of the other main areas that we focus on through our core programs is advocacy and policy. And this really pertains to pushing important pieces of policy at various levels of government, right? So state or even local grassroots level, but also at the federal level. So really the goal here is to develop and improve laws that positively impact people with Down syndrome and other disabilities. These are very important pieces that also kind of span those program areas that we talked about. So if you are familiar with our Down Syndrome Advocacy Conference, as you may have seen on a previous slide, this is an area where we really focus on championing and sharing stories at our nation's capital. This past year, we focused a lot on health equity policies and looking specifically at one of the key priority areas around organ transplant discrimination prevention and some of those other areas. So I would highly encourage you, again, to check out our website, take a look at the advocacy and policy page to become familiar with some of our policy priorities, and even check out some programs like our DS Ambassador program that would maybe help you get connected to an organization or to some of the efforts that are taking place in your local communities. So that's a great segue into the reason we're here today. The National Down Syndrome Society has an incredible history, again, around advocacy and policy in one particular area of success, and I would say a policy priority that we were able to really see a lot of positive impact in is around ABLE. So just in short, I guess a quick history, and then I'll turn it over to Eric. The National Down Syndrome Society and Autism Speaks led the advocacy effort behind this bill's passage, along with almost 100 national disability organizations and other key stakeholders back in 2014 and leading up to. This was an incredible effort, a Herculean effort, really, from the greater disability community, and I think really is an incredible reflection of the collaboration and what that collaboration can achieve. 85% of the entire 113th Congress supported this bill. That is one of the most bipartisan laws ever passed in the history of Congress. So it speaks volumes, again, to what collaboration can bring and what the greater disability community, I believe, is capable of. So just, again, quick landmark. In December 2014, NDSS's #1 legislative priority, the Achieving Better Life Experience, or the ABLE Act, was passed in Congress, and the president signed it into law on December 19th, 2014. So if you're doing the math there, yes, we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of ABLE, which is a very exciting time for us, and certainly an opportunity for us to continue to share information and to educate the community on why these accounts and why this piece of legislation is so important and how it can benefit individuals and families around the country. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our speaker, Eric Ochmanek, who's the program director for ABLE Today with the National Association on State Treasurers, to give us some more information about really what ABLE accounts are, how they can benefit families, and some other pieces that might help you understand exactly how to apply this information to your situation. So, Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
Ryan, thanks for all that. Thank you for all the work that obviously NDSS does. Before I even get started, I just want to acknowledge the fact that the ABLE Act probably wouldn't be in existence without the leadership and the support of the National Down Syndrome Society, both as a board members, the senior executive staff, the community itself, and just really the way that the NDSS community work together with several other disability groups out there. So on behalf of all of us that operate, run, administrate and do outreach for ABLE programs. Again, just want to acknowledge the fact that NDSS has been a leader on this for years and really wouldn't be here without all of you and all your support. So thank you again for all that. Again, my name is Eric Ochmanek. I'm the program director for ABLE Today, and we'll get into some information on ABLE accounts. Next slide, please. So for today, we're going to hopefully have for you the best webinar you've ever been to all day and maybe all week, and hopefully then throughout the year. It's really about ABLE accounts. So again, ABLE accounts are an opportunity for people with disabilities to expand financial empowerment and community inclusion. Our website's abletoday.org. We have a great listing of information, which we're going to cover throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. So ABLE Today is part of the National Association of State Treasurers Foundation. All the ABLE programs in the country all work together actually through NAST, and we all help through a network called the ABLE Savings Plan Network. So whether or not your state treasurer's office, or maybe it's the DD board, we have a governor's commission on disability, whoever helps to administrate the ABLE programs in their states actually all work together through the National Association of State Treasurers. And then ABLE Today, then we help supplement and complement the ABLE outreach from the state programs nationally. Obviously, a great example being our partnership with the National Down Syndrome Society. And we have been founded and funded through Wells Fargo, who helps to promote unbanked and underbanked individuals to having savings and checking accounts. We do appreciate our partnership with Wells Fargo. Next slide, please. So who is this presentation for? This is a great slide because really the information on the slide should just read one word. It should just say everyone. But for us, then we want to break it down a little bit more and kind of show you who that is really. So this information that we're going to give you today, obviously we do a lot of in-person webinars or in-person presentations at national conferences. We also do webinars, but really ABLE account information, whether or not you're going to have an account or maybe think about one later on, it's really for anyone who's a part of a life of a person with a disability. So whether or not you're a self-advocate, that is someone who plans their finances month to month to ensure that they don't lose benefits like SSI or Medicaid, or maybe they're not on benefits today, but maybe they will be in the future. You know, maybe you're a family member or caregiver of a person with a disability, and you're concerned with how they will live their life now, and maybe concerned with how they'll live their life when you are no longer able to take care of them. It could be somebody in the disability space, a provider, a Social Security representative payee, maybe as a financial advisor, a special needs trust lawyer. We could go on for the different examples. Again, maybe we should just have this slide just say everyone, and it'd be a lot shorter and easier. But again, it's for anyone who touches the life of a person with a disability, a self-advocate themselves, a family member, caregiver, anybody in the disability space. Next slide, please. So with that, then a couple of examples that we'll talk about throughout the presentation are Amanda and Dalton. So Amanda is 13 years old. She has a physical disability. She'll be on Medicaid services throughout her life. Her parents are saving money for her to go to college and plan for her future. But they're concerned with who will support and care for her when they're gone. So they need a plan, not only for today, but for the future. And then Dalton is 34 years old. He has a developmental disability. He works, he receives SSI, he uses that payment to help pay for his rent. He wants to purchase his own home though one day, but because of SSI limits, he may not be able to save up the money for a down payment. So both Amanda and Dalton, they need a plan. They need something. They need an option, an opportunity to be able to save for their futures. Next slide, please. So imagine for both Amanda and Dalton and for people with disabilities across the country, if they could save money in their own names and more than just $2,000. And again, for those who may not be in public benefits today, SSI, Medicaid being the two big examples, they have about a $2,000 asset limit. So if you go over $2,000, for example, and someone's receiving SSI, they would lose SSI the next month. So imagine being able to save money in your own names and have more than $2,000 while remaining eligible for the very benefits that support the person with a disability. And for those that have been receiving benefits, maybe in the past, you've heard of a term called spend down. And spend down again is where you have to make a choice and decision whether or not you want to spend down money to remain below the $2,000 and keep eligibility for those benefits. Then imagine for a person with a disability who's only been able to save $2,000 at any one time. Imagine being able to go from a month-to-month plan to a lifetime plan. All of these things, I hope that you're all surprised, but Enable account actually helps all of these things and gives greater options for people with disabilities and their families. Next slide, please. So I often use this exact same line on this slide every time I do this. I've been doing ABLE outreach since 2016 when the first program start. This is by far and away the most important slide in this entire presentation. So I know many of us are working from home. If you're looking at email, this is it. This is the most important slide on here. If I could just have everybody just really focus in on it. Because again, ABLE accounts are savings, investment, and spending tools built for people with disabilities that allow them to save money without impacting and protecting then their eligibility for public benefits. It is a profound statement for people with disabilities to remain on the very benefits that support their health and wellness and be able to save up and above that asset limit of $2,000. And again, ABLE accounts are offered under Section 529A of the U.S. Tax Code. We have our complete listing of all the federal regulations for ABLE on our website. There's actually a listing of the original bill, again, which NDSS helped to usher through. We have information and regulations from the Medicaid, Medicare office, Social Security, Housing and Urban Development, and many others. So if you'd like to see more information and more of the federal regulations, please do visit our website. Next slide, please. So right now, ABLE accounts are actually run through state programs. So again, I mentioned earlier, many of them are run through state treasurer offices. Some are run by the developmental disability councils of the state. And again, one or two are offered through the Governor's Commission on Disability. Currently, as of right now, there are 46 states and the District of Columbia that offer ABLE programs. Just this spring, though, Wisconsin passed their legislation. So hopefully the next year, Wisconsin would be the next state that offers it. We will not be talking about which state might be best for you to pick. We only offer information on all ABLE programs through our website. So please do consider your home state as a great option. But again, we don't really help people pick and choose because they all have different features, which we're going to get into here on this webinar. So as of December 2023, there are over 162,000 accounts and about $1.74 billion in those ABLE accounts. The final numbers for the last quarter, so the first quarter of this year, should be finalized hopefully by the end of this week. And maybe Ryan or Anna could email that final listing for the first quarter of this year, and you can share that the new data on number of accounts here pretty soon. Please note this, though. It's you can go to the next slide too, but more importantly than anything else, if you live in a state, some states may be for only in-state residents. Some may be for out-of-state residents. Whether or not your state happens to have the ABLE program or not, you could actually go and pick another state. So for example, currently, if you're in Wisconsin, you can still go join another program, which we'll talk more about here in a little bit. So great key features and benefits of an ABLE account. Number one, they're multifunctional. So they help with short-term spending for expenses related to the disability, and they're also used like a long-term savings account. Ryan mentioned earlier that it's 529 day. So the National Association of State Treasurers actually also promotes 529 accounts, and today's a big day for us on the 529 side. You can use your ABLE account like a 529 account and actually save money for 10, 20 years down the road, never taking the money out of the account itself. ABLE accounts hopefully will be able to describe to you that they're a great opportunity for financial empowerment and community inclusion. Being able to free somebody's options to be able to save money above $2,000 is a great way to financially empower them to live in their community. Again, we mentioned earlier, it's an alternative option to spending down and then protecting eligibility for benefits. Different than a trust and different than other tools, ABLE accounts are actually owned by the person with the disability. So it's their money. They actually own the money there. It's their account. But a person can help manage the account for them, which we're going to get into here in a couple slides. It's easy to open, easy to close, easy to use. They have many features and many functions, just like a regular bank account. It takes about 20 minutes to start your ABLE program, depending on the different states. But again, very easy to use. You can operate it. You don't have to go into a bank. You have to go into an office to do it. You can do it right from the comfort of your home, except for one state does have an in-person registration for it. And then the accounts themselves are tax-free earnings, and many states actually do offer tax deductions and credits. So I'll just pick Wisconsin, for example. Wisconsin actually has about a $10,000 tax benefit. So if you make contributions in Wisconsin, you can actually receive a $10,000 benefit from doing that for the contributions to the ABLE account. Different states have different tax things, and it's all on our website to find out which state has what kind of tax benefits. Next slide, please. So currently, as of right now, ABLE accounts are for individuals with disabilities that the onset of the disability started before the age of 26. So again, before the age of 26. In 2026, the number actually raises to 46. So we did a really good job of picking lots of 2s, 4s, and 6s. So again, today, age of onset 26, January 1st, 2026, the age actually increases to 46. You can open up the account though at any time. You don't have to be under the age of 26 to open the account. You can definitely be over the age. In fact, the oldest person in the country that has an ABLE account is actually in their 90s. Again, the onset of their disability started before the age of 26. The disability must be long-term, so more than 12 months, and must cause marked and severe functional limitation. And then most importantly for eligibility, it's essentially if a doctor has diagnosed someone with a disability, either physical or mental, or if they just receive or are eligible to receive SSI or SSDI due to the disability. So there's several different ways in order to be eligible for an ABLE account. We'd often tell people that you do not have to be on any public benefits today to open up an ABLE account. If you have a disability that helps you be eligible for an ABLE account, but you're not on any benefits, you can still use the ABLE account like a long-term financial retirement account. Much like many of us may have retirement programs through our employment, you can use an ABLE account like a long-term savings option, much like a retirement account. Next slide, please. So to open up an ABLE account, again, we've listed all the different ABLE programs on our website. It's abletoday.org/able-programs. We also have a couple different tools on our website. So first off, we have every single program listed alphabetically. And then we actually did just this month release a search and compare tool, which actually enables people to put side-by-side states and be able to kind of compare the different costs, different features. Some have debit cards, maybe some don't. Some may have higher interest rates, some don't. So it's actually on our website. You can pick and choose and go through the different information for the different programs. For anybody though, if you have an ABLE account, someone can still manage it, which we're going to get into here in the next slide, and just talk about who can actually manage the ABLE account. Next slide. So for ABLE account support persons, again, a person with a disability that has capacity can open and administrate their own ABLE accounts. That's always the case. That person, additionally, though, that can manage it can be an individual or an organization. So many organizations have entities and staff members that support the lives of people with disabilities, for example, and they can actually manage multiple accounts at once. This person, this ABLE account support person, there is actually a hierarchy, though, who can manage the account. So again, we read this off to be very clear. The first is the fact that a person with a disability can actually appoint someone via power of attorney to manage their account for them. So power of attorney would be the first in the hierarchy list. Next would be conservator, then guardian, spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent, and then a Social Security representative payee. So essentially, this is the hierarchy of who can do it. The hierarchy exists because of the fact that maybe somebody above you could have, for example, a court order to manage someone's funds. So it's up to the people in this order to make sure and try to work to confirm that nobody above them is willing and able to manage the ABLE account for the person with the disability. Next slide, please. So back to Amanda. Again, Amanda being age minority, she's 13 years old. Her mother opened up her ABLE account for her. Again, took about 20 minutes. Amanda is again listed as the able account owner, but her mother is listed as the support person. So she can handle the day-to-day management of the account. So withdrawals, contributions, if a benefits person, for example, may ask for how much money is in the account, she could do that. It's very easy for the person to manage the account, no different than any other kind of banking product out there. Next slide, please. So getting money into the account. Getting money in the account is various options along the way. First and foremost, you can still write a check and mail a check in, and it can be then contributed to the ABLE account, or you can send an EFT, electronic funds transfer, and that can go directly into the ABLE account. Most of the programs actually built payroll deductions and e-gifting features. So someone could actually have a payroll deduction straight from their salaries and earned money they get from their job and directly put it into the ABLE accounts. All of the different payroll deduction forms are actually on our website. So we can share that information, but it's on the website itself for you to take it, fill everything out, hand it to your payroll specialist or HR office. And then e-gifting. So essentially there's e-gifting campaigns that people can build and say things like, I'd like to have a birthday party, I'm turning 18, or maybe I'm graduating from high school. Instead of just giving me cash, which could be then counted toward my asset limit for benefits, people could then use the e-gifting platform to directly put money into the ABLE account itself. And then speaking of 529 accounts, once again, you can actually roll over funds from a 529 savings account for free directly into the ABLE account. So we do have a rollover feature from a 529 account into an ABLE account, which again enables individuals with disabilities and their families to be able to take money from a 529 account and directly put it into an ABLE account. Next slide, please. So annual contributions for ABLE accounts are determined by the IRS gifting tax exclusion and employment statuses. So we want to get into a couple of these things right here. So first off, for the year 2024, and this changes all the time. Back in 2016, we were first getting started. The annual contribution was $12,000. So this number does move from time to time. So currently this year, $18,000 for the calendar year 2024 can be contributed into an ABLE account from any source. It can be from the person themselves, it can be from their family, their friends, organizations, nonprofit employers. Anybody can put it in up to $18,000. And then a few years after the ABLE Act passed, again, disability groups like NDSS helped to usher in an update to the ABLE account. So people who are working, have an ABLE account, actually have the added benefit of putting additional funds into the account. So besides that first $18,000, if they're working, they can actually put in an additional up to $14,000 more every single year. So that has to do with the fact that people who are working have more income possibly, and they can put extra money in the ABLE account. That number does change between the continental United States and then Alaska and Hawaii. So we do have those numbers here. It's $32,000 for people working and living in the continental U.S., and then District of Columbia, $34,000 then for Hawaii, and then $36,000. That's a major increase, above $2,000 at any one time. Next slide, please. So Dalton's example. Dalton, again, remember, works. He set up a direct deposit feature from his employer to go have automatic contributions directly from his paycheck into the ABLE account on a monthly basis. He puts in funds up to, we'll just call it 14,500, again, into his ABLE account. Dalton then has e-gifting, which he does receive funds from family, maybe friends, of the $5,000. So the main point of this slide, though, again, there's all those numbers are maybe confusing and maybe they're fun to talk about. The main part of the slide is this. Before he had an ABLE account, Dalton could only have $2,000 at any one time. Every single month, he was working, trying to save money. How does he put a down payment into a house if he only has $2,000? And now, through his ABLE account, while also remaining eligible for his benefits, Dalton can save, again, well over $2,000. So that last bullet point is such a profound statement for the slide. Again, there was a limit before ABLE, and now through an ABLE account, he can finally save above and beyond that $2,000. So it's a great statement for what an ABLE account can do and expanded options for how people can save and stay on their benefits. Next slide, please. There are some costs associated with ABLE accounts. Again, all the information's on the websites for the programs themselves, and we actually list all the information for the monthly maintenance fees and investment sides too. So please do check that out. They range from $0 to $60 a year, and they also have a 0% interest charge for some of the investment accounts and portfolio pieces, the 0.9. Again, the numbers, please do look at them yourselves. The numbers are going to change though based on the features, right? So again, some may have a debit card, some may not. Some may have a checking account, some may not. So please do consider the fact that maybe the ones that are $0 may have different features than others. Please do just pick and research the program that best fits your life. Again, all of these things are on our website. We have the analyze tool, we have the search and compare tool. Please do use all those to kind of look around and pick to choose the program you'd like to have. Next slide, please. So speaking of the accounts themselves, the accounts have a savings/checking account feature, and also they have the investment side feature. So essentially, people with disabilities and the people managing the ABLE account can pick and choose how they want. ABLE programs cannot tell you where to put your money. It's up to each person that's running the account to kind of pick and choose how they want to put their money into the account itself. So some people want to put it in the savings side of things and just have the money there, maybe not earn a lot of interest. Or maybe you want to put it in the investment side of things and try to work up with playing the market, right? And invest your money for long-term investment. A great part of this note is the fact that you can actually pick and choose both. You can put some money in savings, some investment. Each person, disability, each person's family decide how they want to invest the money and put it in. Either way, though, the checking and savings options are FDIC insured. And then the investment side of things are spread across market-based investments. So it's a mixture of stocks and bonds. All the information, again, on our website. You can research it on the ABLE program website as well, picking and choosing which one's best. And then all the ABLE programs actually list their investment reports. So you can see how they've done over the past 6 months, 12 months, 18, and since the beginning they've had. So please do utilize those tools as well. Next slide, please. Probably the most fun slide to talk about is the fact that once the money's in the account, how do you spend it, right? And one of the best parts of ABLE in itself is the fact that it has one of the broadest statements that are tied to a federal program, right? It's how to spend that ABLE money. Funds in ABLE account essentially are for each person and each person's family to spend the money as best fits their own unique life. There's not a blanketed statement for everybody to follow. Each person with disability, each family can spend the money as best and benefits that person's life. So for a qualified disability expense, though, it's essentially anything that relates to the disability and helps maintain or improve health, independence, or quality of life. Again, that's a very, very wonderfully broad statement and really speaks to the spirit of what an ABLE account is supposed to do. It's supposed to help benefit the person with the disability. Examples that are out there, though, for sure, are things like housing and rent, transportation, assistive technologies, health and wellness. So think of doctors' appointments, basic living expenses, food and clothing, education. You can actually spend money from an ABLE account and going to school and training schools and things like that. Legal fees. My example that I often give with this slide is the fact that you don't see the term slice of pizza on here, which I probably should just put a picture of a slice of pizza, or maybe a picture of my favorite slice of pizza. A slice of pizza, yes, is probably a basic living expense. You would need it for food and for nutrition, we'd say. I know my kids would say nutrition. A slice of pizza, though, is greater than just food, right? It's a chance for all of us maybe to go in the community, maybe go have lunch or dinner with our friends and spend time with people that we love and care about and spending time in the community. And that's what speaks back to what the power of an ABLE account is. It's benefiting the person to live a bigger and better life and being able to save money while remaining on eligibility for their program. So don't just think about it like these small categories. Housing and rent. Housing and rent, yes, is probably pretty easy to define, but housing and rent is also adaptive tools and equipment to be able to get in and out of the home. Transportation could be assistive technologies to be able to get in and out of the car, or maybe to drive the car, right? So think about it as what's going to help benefit the person with the disability and improve or maintain their health, independence, or quality of life. Again, using it as a very broad way for the best possible reasons. Next slide, please. Withdrawing it is no different than a lot of functional tools that banking programs have now. So again, some programs have checking accounts that you can use checkbooks. There's third-party bill pays. You can put money, use it through a debit card or a loadable spend card. So some have loadable spend cards. You can put money on the card and then use that. You can also transfer money out of the account and put it for a personal checking, personal savings. So lots of different ways to take the money out and be able to use tools as part of the Able account itself. Like I said, checkbook, third party, or debit cards, or then take the money and put it into your own personal checking and personal savings to be able to manage the account. Next slide, please. A couple of rules that we always have talked about since the very beginning of outreach for Able accounts. So number one, for SSI, if balances go over $100,000 of cash inside the Able account, at that point, the Social Security Administration will start counting funds toward that SSI limit of $2,000. So let me just make sure I have all that correct for everybody. The limit before was $2,000, and then now if SSI or now if the Able account gets to $100,000 cash in an Able account, at that point funds will be counted for SSI. It's a pretty great way of saying that someone can save up to $100,000 while still remaining on SSI. And then the one stipulation for Social Security Administration also is the fact that if you're spending money on housing expenses, the money needs to be withdrawn from the Able account and spent on housing expenses within the same calendar month. So for example, today is May 29th. If you were going to pay, for example, June 1st mortgage or June 1st rent, the money would have to come out and be spent in May or come out and be spent in June. So that's one stipulation for the Social Security Administration. If it's not, it crosses over the calendar month, they'll count it toward that asset limit of $2,000. Then for Medicaid, there is no balance limit. You can save as much as you could in the accounts themselves. Medicaid, though, and this is not just for Able accounts, it's Medicaid for all kind of different financial products. Medicaid still can do a payback, look back, claw back. There's different terms that maybe many of you know about, and that applies for Able accounts. So for example, if someone's receiving Able account or has an Able account and receiving Medicaid benefits, Medicaid in that state can ask to recoup some of the funds in it to pay back the benefits they receive of Medicaid. A couple of big things, though, it's different than another banking product is the fact that they can only look and see how much money's in the account since the opening of an Able account. So for example, if someone had a Medicaid benefit starting at 10 years old, but didn't open up their Able account until they're 20, the money in there can't be looked at for Medicaid going back from 10 to 20. It's only when they started and they opened up the Able account at the age 20. And then any kind of qualified disability expenses that need to be paid, again, once the person has passed away, it can all come out before Medicaid can look at it. So, bills or rent, funeral, burial, things like that can all come off before Medicaid can look at it. So there's much different stipulations and positive stipulations than a regular banking account. Roughly 14 states have enacted provisions that prohibit Medicaid from actually coming in and doing it. It's on our website again. The easiest thing to do is to go on there and research and see if that's your state or any states have that Medicaid provision out there. Next slide, please. And then we often are asked questions where how does Able accounts work with a special needs trust? So if you're thinking or have a special needs trust and you're thinking of or maybe already have an Able account, happy to report that they work great together. In fact, maybe they complement each other, maybe they do work great together. So for example, a special needs trust can do things that an Able account can't, and vice versa. An Able account can do things that actually help make a special needs trust better. A couple of examples we often use here is the fact that if someone has a $50,000 life insurance policy, how can you put a $50,000 life insurance policy in an Able account when this year's maximum contribution limit is $18,000? So right there, it's very easy to use a special needs trust in complement of an Able account. And then for an Able account, you can do things and spend the money a lot easier and faster, probably is a good way of saying it, than a special needs trust. So think about an Able account being like a transactional tool, a debit card feature for a special needs trust. So you can put money into a special needs trust and then allocate a contribution from a trust, put it into the Able account, and then have a little bit more flexibility, a little more freedom on how to spend the money. Probably on this one, and I'd love to ask maybe Anna or Ryan if you could do this. We actually just built one of, if not the first national ABLE CLE for lawyers, and we actually announcing it publicly next week. So on our website, it's abletoday.org/CLE, and we have built a continuing legal education course for lawyers. It's available for anybody who needs special education requirements as a lawyer throughout the entire country. We've partnered with the DC Bar in Washington, DC, and essentially it goes into a very deep dive for lawyers, anybody else who's interested on how ABLE accounts are worked. We have numerous citations from across federal regulations as well. So if you feel like learning more and really getting into the weeds on ABLE accounts, it's a great tool to be able to have. And also, if you're a lawyer and you want to check to make sure that everything we said was at least moderately true, it's a great place to go. Next slide, please. So as I've mentioned before, we don't tell you about one ABLE account itself. We hope that you've learned at least a little bit about what an ABLE account is and how it can be helpful and how it changes the course for people with disabilities to live a more financially empowering life by again living above and beyond an asset limit of just $2,000. I very kindly ask that you go to our website to again learn more about ABLE accounts, look at the federal regulations yourself, and hopefully then, if you're interested, we do partner with National Down Syndrome Societies chapters throughout the entire country. In fact, we've gone to several adult summits. In fact, I think my first one was in Washington, D.C., probably in 2018. So we do webinars and in-person presentations ourselves at Able Today and also the state chapters. So if you have a network or maybe a small group in your community, please reach out to us. We would love to partner to be able to connect you with your state's program to be able to offer ABLE information and do a question and answer session with your community as well. So please do email us, share the good word about ABLE accounts. If you have good news, we'd love to hear about it. If there's things that maybe could be a little bit better, please also let us know because we'd love to be able to answer your questions and help spread the word about how ABLE accounts help people with disabilities and their families. Next slide, please. So a couple of really great tools at your disposal. We have a full-length ABLE presentation. It's in ASL, American Sign Language, and there's voiceover both in English and Spanish, and then closed captioning in English and Spanish. It's on our website. It's abletoday.org/ASL. Please utilize that. We have partnered with 2 webinars in collaboration with the United States Social Security Administration. Both of those webinars and getting into a lot of the details for how ABLE accounts interact with the Social Security Administration and benefits like SSI and SSDI are on our website. So you can utilize those tools and watch those webinars. And then just this year, we launched a national podcast talking about how ABLE accounts are a great tool for people with disabilities. We work with state treasurers that help to run the state ABLE programs throughout the country, ABLE directors that actually manage the day-to-day operations for the ABLE accounts. We've interviewed and talked to people at different disability agencies, and really it's just a great chance to talk about how ABLE accounts are helping people with disabilities and through a podcast. So if you are interested in podcasts, we'd love for you to go and listen to that. Again, I've mentioned several times before, the various ABLE federal regulations are on our website. It's there at your disposal. They're not our information. Actually, every one of those links back to a federal website. So for example, maybe it's the Department of Labor, maybe it's the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So please do feel free to research and look at those regulations yourself. Then I mentioned earlier about the direct deposit feature. On our website, we have resources for employers. So we partner with corporate, both large and small, HR, payroll specialists. We partner with employee resource groups and business resource groups that promote and help provide information to workers with disabilities and family members who care for a person with a disability at their home. So if you are somebody that's an employer and want to share information with your HR or maybe your disability groups or DEIA folks, please do utilize abletoday.org/for-employers. We have great tools there. We have information brochure. We also have the direct deposit forms on that website as well. So please do utilize that. Next slide, please. But again, on behalf of all of us at Able Today, Wells Fargo, our philanthropic partner, the National Association of State Treasurers, and all the ABLE programs, we love opportunities like this. I can't thank the National Down Syndrome Society enough for all their years of partnership on ABLE, and obviously the continued partnership and sharing information with their community. So Ryan and Anna, thanks again for having myself on. And then our website, ableplay.org. If we have time, I'd love to stay and help answer some questions if Ryan will let me, or if I've not done a good enough job, go ahead and just kick me out right now, Ryan.
Eric, thank you so much. I hope I'm sure I can speak on behalf of our audience here today that you did an incredible job, and just grateful that you are so well versed in this information. I think a lot of times, and again, speaking from a sibling, a family member's experience, information like this can feel very overwhelming, and it can seem very complex. And having it presented in such a clear way has been very helpful for me in getting to kind of brush up on some of the information that I know that I need on ABLE, especially given that we're celebrating 529 and that we have this 10th anniversary taking place, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more information to come on different things that the National Down Syndrome Society and ABLE today are doing to recognize what an incredible opportunity this is, what an incredible resource and tool this is for families, not just within the Down syndrome community, but across the disability community. So thank you again. We so appreciate your expertise. I will say too, for those who are interested, I have not had a chance to look at the chat, but we'll get to those questions here momentarily. That we will have this webinar available on our YouTube channel. We'll be able to share that with folks who have registered and attended today. We will also make sure that we have the presentation with the hyperlinks available to those of you who are here today. This is one of those things where I think sometimes I walk away with some questions, and then some questions arise even later after I've had a chance to kind of let the information settle. So this will be a great way for you all to review and to sort of reference back to some of the information that Eric has shared, as well as be able to share within your networks. We understand that there could be folks on this call today who are, of course, family members and friends, and even individuals with Down syndrome or other disabilities interested in this information. We also want to encourage you to continue to share throughout your networks. We all have our own spheres of influence, and the name of the game here is education and information sharing. It's incredible for us to be able to do this today, but want to make sure that we continue to have these ripple effects so that folks can really access this information and use this incredible tool. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Anna, to see. Anna, have you had a chance to check out any of the questions, and are there some that we want to try to address in real time here?
I can read them
Absolutely.
too.
Oh,
However I can be helpful. How about that?
yeah, go ahead there. We've got quite a few in the chat. I've got a few I've been trying to answer as they come in.
Yeah.
But happy to turn it over to you to see what's there.
Yeah, Anna, thanks a lot for sharing. There's a link here. I don't know if we can put that in the group chat too. So just in April, we released the first round of information on ABLE accounts in Spanish. So it was a really great question that see, looks like Jennifer asked. So we have the full-length ABLE presentation in Spanish, both in closed captions and also in voiceover. And then we have our PowerPoint presentation that we've been able to translate into Spanish, and a couple graphics too. Additionally, we are going to start hosting more and more webinars in Spanish. ABLE programs, for example, in Florida, they have much more information in their state program. So if there's a way for us to connect them back to states that maybe have even more Spanish translations, let us know. But we do have lots of information, at least as a starting point, to be able to get information on ABLE accounts in Spanish. So that was a good question. And then I did want to ask a couple of these questions, or answer a couple of these questions. So people with disabilities, someone named Charlotte asked this question that maybe 18-year-olds should have an account. So people with disabilities and banking accounts should not be two separate comments, right? So for example, if I have a son who makes a little bit of extra money and can put his money into a banking account, and he's under the age of 18, a person with disability should have the same opportunity to do the same exact thing. So an ABLE account, in essence, can be for leveling the playing field for how people with disabilities, no matter how old they are, to be able to save the money. Now, just like any other bank account, though, the age of minority comes into play. If someone's under the age of 18, in some states it's 19, a parent or a guardian or a caregiver with the person helping to manage the bank account. It's no different for an ABLE account, right? So if they happen to be 13, 12, whatever the number is, a parent, guardian, caregiver would be the person managing the accounts. I just want to make sure I answer that question. And then Charlotte also talked about being able to share more information on financial literacy is how I'll paraphrase her question. So we're actually working with Wells Fargo and a couple of different agencies to be able to say, now that you have an ABLE account, right? Because we want to get people to have the account first. Now we're talking about building resources for what you do with it once you have that. So please stay tuned. We'll be able to share that, Ryan, with you and Anna, and maybe we can get the information out is what's next. And I have money. How do I protect myself, or how do I care for fraud and things like that? So please stay with that. And then let's see here. There was one about having multiple accounts at the same time. So you can only have one ABLE account anywhere in the country at any one time. You can transfer them. You can actually go from one state to the next. So for example, let's pick New York. So if I'm in New York and I move to Pennsylvania and you want to go from the New York ABLE program to the Pennsylvania program, you can actually manage yourself by transferring it for free to the different programs. So that's one thing you can do, but you can only have one ABLE account at any one time. So that one's pretty easy. And let's see. Yes. So the question is, can my brother cash his paper paycheck directly in an ABLE account? So the easiest way to say that is they'd have to sign their check over. And again, the different programs have different rules for this, but sign the check over directly to the ABLE account itself, put the account number on there. Jennifer, if I were you, I would probably contact or email the ABLE program just to make sure to see what information needs to be on the check. But yes, you can actually sign a check over, much like how all of us can actually sign checks over to different people as well. So that's ABLE accounts are kind of functionally built to be able to handle that. Let's see here. Is the ABLE program suitable for a 3-year-old, or is this geared for older kids with disabilities? So this was from Anonymous. And by the way, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, this is a really, really great question. And especially with this group here, if someone is maybe 3 years old, their parents are probably managing their funds. They're probably on their insurance, right? They're caring for them. They're taking care of them. So maybe a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old probably doesn't need a lot of expendable funds right now to be able to go out in the community. But the way I often describe it is the fact that I'm not retiring tomorrow, but I hope to retire maybe in 20, 30 years. And so an ABLE account can actually function like a what's going to happen in 10 years when they are 13, or maybe what's going to happen when they are in their 20s and they're working. So I often describe and talk about and highlight the fact that ABLE accounts are geared toward people with disabilities the same way other products are for other people. It's what's for the future. This is a chance to put money into account and have it available for them down the road. So that's kind of how we describe it. I hope Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous that helps you. Again, it's using the account to plan for the future, no different than any other financial product available to anybody else. It's leveling the playing field for how people with disabilities can have finances. Let's see here. How do you change the support person for the account? So this is from Rana. That one is the different programs will have different operational components for being able to change over who can manage the accounts themselves. And there's some forms that are attached to that one. So if I were you, Raina, I would contact the ABLE program in your state that has it and say, I'd like to change over, and or be able to say that the person is taking over for me is that. So that one's can't exactly give you the details on that because the different programs are different, but that happens as an operational point of view, and there's some paperwork involved in changing over that one. So did I understand you correctly that you can choose an ABLE account from any state you desire? Yes. So you can, if you're living in Florida, and this is just one example, if you're living in Florida, Florida's ABLE program is only available for Floridians. So it's an in-state program only. But if you're in Florida and let's say you don't want to pick the Florida program, you can actually go and pick a program that's available nationwide. So for example, maybe you want to pick Alabama, or maybe you want to pick the Tennessee one. You can do that. So you do not have to pick the one in your state, except there are programs that are only available for in-state residents. Florida being one of them, Texas is one off the top of my head as well. So that's something. Let's see here. If you have an ABLE account in your home state. So ABLE account eligibility and ABLE account enrollments don't affect residency requirements. Again, you can have, this is from Jermaine, you can have the ABLE account. You can actually have an ABLE account, for example, in Pennsylvania. You can move to New York and keep your Pennsylvania ABLE program. So again, it does not affect where you live or your residency, nothing like that. Is it reasonable to use an ABLE? Yes. So this is from Noah. Is it reasonable to use an ABLE account for checking in a traditional or firm wrestling? So your question, Noah, is using an ABLE account for checking maybe transactional purposes? Yes. So an ABLE account is a spending tool. You can save it. ABLE accounts actually do host, though, a number of investment products. So you can actually pick and choose different investment options. Again, it's low risk, low reward, moderate, high risk. So all the programs actually offer an investment feature. So you don't actually have to have two different things. Everything can be inside the ABLE product. So that's just something to say. Can you transfer money out of an ABLE account into a special needs trust? Yes, you can. You can transfer money out of an ABLE account and put it into a special needs trust. Oh, this is a great question. Is there a difference between ABLE and stable account? So, Ryan, make sure you correct me in the future. I should have said that ABLE is. I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. ABLE is what an ABLE account is, right? That's like a car, right? So ABLE is a car. And then there's lots of different cars out there, right? There's Fords, and then even Fords have different cars, F-150s, Mustangs, right? So the question has to do with the fact that what's the difference between ABLE and stable? So stable account is the name of Ohio's ABLE account. Michigan's ABLE account is called MI ABLE. Virginia's is called ABLE now. So the different states are all going to have ABLE accounts. They're just going to be called something different. Indiana is in ABLE, right? Pennsylvania is PA ABLE. So that's the only thing. And they're all the names of are listed on our website. We generally just like to say Ohio's ABLE program, Michigan's ABLE program, making it a little bit easier for everybody. So if my son is, this is a great question from Darlene. So if my son is 2 years old, and I'm going to paraphrase Darlene's question. If my son is 2 years old and we open up an ABLE account and he's eligible today, can he manage it down the road? Yes. So just like any other bank account, right, that you have, unless you become the guardian of that person, right, and manage the estate or manage the person, after the person changes from age minority to age of majority, right, 18 or 19 years old, they can manage their own ABLE account. Again, that's an operational component. Within, you contact the ABLE administrator to do that. But yes, you can actually be the manager of it while they're under the age of 18. And then when they turn 18 and down the road, they can actually manage their own ABLE accounts. That's a really, really good question. Is there a limit to transfer? Yes, there is a limit to transfer. Again, it's how much it is for the annual maximum year. So right now it's $18,000, but again, you can have the money in and transfer it out at any one time. And then so will opening an ABLE account, this is a great question. This is from Michael. Michael has a question, I'm going to paraphrase here too, about how ABLE accounts affect different benefits. So Michael, I can say this very honestly. If you can email Anna or Ryan or even myself, different states benefits are going to have different ways they interact with ABLE accounts. So what we would like to do and what we usually do is that if you email me, we will then help connect you back into your state ABLE program to be able to help with that answer, because there are state benefits that we don't know about, but we can at least connect you back to the state program to be able to help answer your question. So if you wouldn't mind emailing one of us, we'll definitely be able to help track down the person in the state's ABLE program, be able to get the answer for you. And then Naomi has a great question called, what happens when the person passes away with the ABLE funds? That is a great question because people want to know what happens to the money, right? It's the money's in the account. Does the government get it? Who gets the funds? This becomes no different than any other asset of an estate for anybody else who passes away. So for example, the funds in the account would be part of the estate, and it'd probably go into some sort of probate, right? And a judge or a probate court would decide where the funds go. This is a two-part answer, though. The first part is it's the asset of the estate, no different than any other banking product. But for a person with a disability, it's never had more than $2,000. Maybe they should use their ABLE funds as a qualified expense and have an afterlife plan, or maybe have a will to put in there where the money should go upon their death. And so that's something that people should understand is if you now have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in an ABLE account, that's a really good point to really consider working with a law firm, getting a will, and having an afterlife plan for what happens to the ABLE funds. Again, no different than many of us have a plan for what will hopefully happen when it goes into the estate and goes to probate and goes into our families. kind of livelihood. So that's something to keep in mind.
Eric, thank you so much. I don't know how you did it, but you got through all the questions, and again, presented some incredible information to this audience. Thank you for your time, for your expertise. Want to encourage folks again to please check out all of the links that are available in the website, or excuse me, in the chat, and check out our websites respectively, Able Today, as well as the National Down Syndrome Society.org page. And we will be sure to get this information along with the presentation and the slide deck over to you, or the recording and the slide deck over to you in the coming days. Thank you all so much, and happy 529. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Take care.